Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. Hello, my friends. The first expression of the divine mystery is pure, ever pure. Nothing can contaminate them. Whatever people are doing, however crazy it goes in manifestation, whatever struggles are there, energies struggling with each other, positive, negative, light, dark. The base of manifestation is the first expression of that one divinity, that one, whatever name we want to give, that cannot really be named. And that first expression is always pure. Pure consciousness, pure love, pure energy. It's always here, first. And in difficult times, we need not think, I have to wait until the difficult time has gone, and then it will be possible to connect with them. We can connect consciously with that purity always, here, now. No matter what is happening. This is the base. Without that base, there is no manifestation. So no matter what is happening in manifestation, that purity is still there, whether we are aware of it or not. And it is possible to bring the attention back home to the timelessness of the now and connect consciously. We are never disconnected, but consciously we can be everywhere except connected here now. And we can learn to consciously bring the attention back to that and relax. Let go in that. Be here, be now. There are no easy times now, but instead of despairing, it should inspire us. Okay, let's make the best out of it. Let's make the best of that intensity. We are living in intensive times, and we can use that intensity to go that much deeper. If we just don't forget, connect, come home, be here, be now. That purity is never absent. And we can get rooted in that, function from that level, from that perspective, and then the superficial drama loses its frightening reality. It's still there, but then we see it as what it is. The story, the succession of momentary appearances, where we can get active, where we can learn, where we can grow, where we can play a role, and we can play that role with enthusiasm, and yet there is always this purity, unaffected, unconcerned, unattached. And we can come back to that no matter what is happening. Maria sent me a message that she will be the whole day busy with her meditation shaking community today, but she would like to ask how to feel that inner guidance stronger, because it's new that she feels sometimes that inner guidance, and she would like to increase that. Now, how to do that? She goes on saying that sometimes when she rather stays at home, which is rather not her usual way, her characteristic of this role, Maria. But then when she keeps more quiet, she can feel that inner guidance more. I'm sure, Maria, you're right. It's possible that you become so familiar with it and it's becoming so clear that no matter how hectic the action you are involved in, that still you are aware of that inner guidance. But it helps if we rather keep quiet, get less distracted. But there is also, I'm giving also a little warning. I mean, our emotions are very strong and we can emotionally strongly influence what we feel. I think it's that inner guidance and feeling like this, but actually our emotions pull in a direction that I would like it to be like this, but maybe it's not necessarily that guidance. You ask me, how can we intensify that contact? By just exercises it again and again, on and on. When you are quiet and as good as you can, when you are not quiet. There is not a magic trick that if you do a certain particular practice, then you are getting clearer. Everybody has that touch with that base I was talking about. We cannot possibly not have that touch. And if we connect with that, then the wisdom that we need to function from moment to moment simply will be there. So just open up your heart. When you are in a situation, instead of only thinking about it and weighting the pros and the cons, try to feel. But you can also be aware what you feel may be influenced by what you consciously or subconsciously want to feel. So sometimes there may be a very strong impulse and you feel it's like a message. And then you can take it, okay, this is really a clear guidance. And at other times, feel. But then you still can be aware, okay, maybe it's really honestly coming from the self, or maybe I'm very much influencing it. If it helps you to make decisions, then you can follow it. If you find out later, it wasn't so happy decision, then never mind. You assess the situation again, newly, and from there you go again. If you are unclear about that inner guidance, then we can just use good, old, simple common sense. It may happen that from the perspective of common sense, we may rather take a decision in one way, but actually we feel very strong, without knowing quite why, to go rather the other direction. Then we can follow it without knowing why. But if we don't have a strong impulse like this, then we can also just make from moment to moment that, do that which makes the most amount of sense. Gradually, you will feel stronger. As you already said, it's recently it has happened more and stronger. And the more you become quiet, the more your consciousness is here now, rooted, the clearer that inner guidance becomes. You don't have to try to do something to push it. And if you are not so clear in a moment, then never mind. Do that which you feel is the right thing to do, that you are at peace with yourself, and then that's all right. Basically, we wouldn't need any instructions or teachers or gurus, because that inner guru is always present. But we are also good in fooling ourselves, in telling stories what the mind rather prefers, even if deep down we would feel if we would listen. No, it's better not to go there. It's better to rather go this way. And so for that it helps if we get reminded, if we get directed, if we get support, until that inner guru is really clearly perceived. It's always here. It's always now. It's never absent. But we have to learn to open up to that. And we are getting better by it, by practicing consciously. Even if we have to accept many times in a situation, okay, I'm not clear. I'm not feeling a clear connection. I'm not feeling a clear message. Okay, then we do what we feel is right, what we think is right. But if we continue like that to open, then gradually it's becoming clearer, and there may come a moment where that contact is simply there and you can't deny it anymore. Okay, I leave the subject with that. So I'm asking you, my friends, is there anybody who would like to come in, say something? You're welcome to come. Nobody wants to talk. Recently somebody told me who is very much concerned about what's going on in the world and is quite informed about it, but not from the official information or from the mainstream information, but rather from the underground information, getting a lot of knowledge of stuff that's going on that nobody would have imagined. and has to struggle not to get overwhelmed by it. And then that person has had a discussion with somebody else who basically agrees, but then said, well, but from the absolute standpoint, it doesn't matter, which made the first person quite pissed, thinking, oh, this is all this philosophy, what's the use of it? Something has to be done on this level. But then I said, no, it's not useless. You're right, because the argument is, what do they know about absolute? And I said, you're right, okay. It's a belief for that other person, but that belief can help that person to deal with the situation, not to get overwhelmed, not to get pulled into depression. So these beliefs, they can help. And that argument from the absolute standpoint, it doesn't matter what happens on this level, is not wrong, even if it's said without really coming from direct knowledge. For me, the very concept of an absolute doesn't really mean anything anymore. We have created that. We see the relative, and the mind wants the opposite. We see the moving, and then we have the motionless. So we have the relative, we want the absolute. But an absolute, however we are conceiving of it, is never really absolute. The very fact that it has an opposite, the relative, means somehow it has its own limitation. It's a concept that is being used in relativity. Yet, after all, it's just in other words expressing a similar thing that I expressed when I started. There is always that purity. No matter what is happening, this is not going to change. And so, the statement from the absolute standpoint, it doesn't matter what is happening in this world, is in a way another manner of saying a similar thing. Nevertheless, somehow we have decided to project into this magic show, into this world, to live a human life, to play this role in this theater. The self is not incarnated, but it projects itself within time and space. And so we can also give it its proper value on its own level. It's good to be aware there is something that is never affected by it, that cannot be hurt by it. Be rooted in that conviction until it becomes the awareness, the direct experience. Something cannot be hurt. And then, at the same time, on this level, we can do whatever we can do. Not many people are in a position that they can really change externally things how they are. But everybody can contribute to strengthen the creative, the positive aspect by not getting sucked into depression, by not getting worried and worried and worried. If we do that, then we just fill the whole atmosphere with more worries, and actually we are strengthening the destructive, the negative part. We can see what's going on and at the same time still connect with that beautiful energy, with that expansive energy that brings light and joy in the life of the one who is doing it and radiates in the atmosphere. And all those who come in contact with a person like this, they're also being uplifted and it's made easier for them. That base is not affected by it. And we can express it in this manner like that other person. It doesn't really matter what is happening. On its own relative level, it has a momentary value and we are not by mistake here. So that means we have a challenge and we can pick up the challenge and do what we can. And incidentally, the best we are doing for ourselves is the best for the whole creation. The more we are capable, no matter what is happening, to stay in harmony, to be at peace, to get rooted in that immovable, in that purity, the more powerful something happens on this relative level, the more powerful something flows in that relative level that is extremely creative, positive, and uplifting. Is there anybody who would like now to come in and say something? You are welcome to come in.
Hario.
Hari Om, Ben.
Hello, Werner. Hello,
Hello.
everyone. It's been a while since I was able to join the live session, so it's really nice to be here and feel the live presence. I was watching sometimes on YouTube, but it's nice to be here now.
You seem to be out in nature.
I am. This right here is my little hut in the woods.
Yeah.
and here are the mountains, and I'm just outside.
Yeah.
And this guy behind me is to scare the birds from my new lawn.
So you're installing yourself there a bit.
It looks like, yes.
Yeah.
It looks like.
Are you in France?
No, I'm still in Spain at the nature retreat community.
Yeah, yeah.
It's close to France, just north of Barcelona.
Yeah. Okay. I guess you came in to talk also about something else, huh?
Not really. But I was just inspired by the last words you talked about regarding tapping into the pure presence and allowing creativity to come out of that, and allowing that to be what we are here for, because we're not here by accident. So somehow we're taking in a role here, and we are doing something, and at the moment I'm actually reflecting and planning the next few months, what I'm doing work wise. Yeah. And sometimes the mind gets in the way, and
happens.
it happens, yes. because I work for myself, so I organize events and retreats, and sometimes it works really well, and sometimes it doesn't work, and have to cancel some events. So a little play of emotions can also come to. Sometimes we're very, very excited and very uplifted, and somehow a little bit more drained and not so inspired. So yeah, I think this topic of being able to again and again go back to the source to find fresh inspiration seems very relevant to me right now. And at the same time, it's funny because it involves a planning for the next few months. So yeah,
there is absolutely nothing wrong with planning. It's just,
sure.
it's just don't lose the present because of that. Be here now in the present and think of the future. And then you can think of the possibilities and feel out what makes sense, and then plan. But you're doing it here now. And then it doesn't matter that much whether it's going to work out or not.
Yes.
What is the problem usually with planning, looking in the future, that people get very emotionally attached to their ideas, what should happen, and then it becomes a burden. Then we lose the present. But as long as you are here now and thinking reasonably about the future, I could do this, I could do that, and what makes more sense, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it if we don't build up a whole big emotional thing about it, but remain here now and are aware that base, that purity is here now. It's not affected. It's not going to be affected. So you can plan in the future and then be open whether it and see whether it's going to happen or not.
Yes. Yeah.
The same with the past. There's nothing wrong remembering the past. There's nothing wrong drawing lessons from the past, and that help us in the conclusions right now. What is the problem is when we are still totally emotionally attached to the past, positive or negative. Something was so fantastic, I desperately want it again, or something was so terrible, oh, it's so terrible that this has happened to me. And there we are draining our energy into a fake reality that doesn't exist. Neither the future nor the past are realities, except that they are memories and they are expectations. But they are memories now, and they are expectations now, and that's the reality they have. But we creating emotionally a reality they don't deserve, and feeding that creativity and the life force in that fictitious past, that fictitious future, missing the now. And we can be in the now, thinking of the past, draw lessons, wisdom from the memories, but leave the memories where they belong, as memories. We can plan the future, how to reasonably shape the next few weeks or months or years, whatever, but be here now. And then it doesn't throw your energy out, then it's a totally creative process. There's nothing wrong with that.
And would you say in planning those future events, because sometimes one way to decide if it makes sense or not, because I've had some opportunities that are financially rewarding, and so I'm in a way drawn to put more energy in there so that my financial situation feels good. So that's in one hand, but that feels very much in the mind. Would you say that also in planning, like a sense of joy when thinking of whatever we're planning? Should it have like a good feeling in the body now? Would that be a good indicator?
That is certainly much preferable. I mean, there's nothing wrong with looking that your finances are somewhat all right, but it's not a priority. That if you think of the future of events that you are planning and it feels good, you feel good about, that is certainly much more important than whether the money is very interesting or not. Somehow, if you follow your heart, then the universe will somehow take care of you and bring the money you need.
Right.
it,
Right.
but as I said, there's absolutely nothing wrong doing things where you are gaining nicely, as long as you feel it's right. But if you feel, no, actually, it's not right, but I'm still doing it just to earn money, then maybe you better find other solutions.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes I also wonder, um, somehow we end up doing things because life, in a way, has been putting us on a certain path. And so now we're just thinking in this particular way, whereas there might be an option to just completely step back and open up a sense of what's possible.
Right.
Um, I just wonder how much of our ideas is based on this conditioning, as opposed to just really being aware of the reality of the moment and what might be more necessary to do.
Usually the ideas of people, they are totally influenced by the conditioning. How we have been brought up for so many people, the patterns they are put in place very early in their life, and the rest of their life it's just a repetition of the same stories. Slight differences, but the mechanisms remain just the same. So it's good to become aware and have a good, honest look at ourselves and see whether it's really honestly that I feel in a certain way, or is just my upbringing, my conditioning pushing to repeat again the same thing. The more you become conscious, the less power the conditioning has. So it's very much the difference whether we are simply pushed by the conditioning without being aware that we are pushed, or whether we are start to creatively respond to situations and turn it in something beautiful and expansive. The difference is whether we are conscious or half asleep.
Right.
The more
Good.
you live really in that timeless presence, the more your actions somehow sort of radiate that creativity that is only now. That's the source of beauty and creativity, that timelessness, that one moment in time where we are touching reality. It's only now. All else is in the mind. Right now, it's alive. That bubbling, sparkling, beautiful thing is so much different right now than just a moment before. And the more you live in conscious touch with that, the more your actions are not just repetitions because of conditioning, but genuine expressions of yourself.
Huh, huh, huh. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Werner.
You are welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Adio.
Wish you well.
Adio. You too.
Would anybody else like to come in and say something? You're welcome.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Kyle.
I want to ask you about. I thinking about 12-step program,
Yeah.
and there is kind of psychoanalysis. You have to remind all the bad action what I did and tell to my mentor.
Uh-huh.
So kind of psychoanalysis, check myself what is there, and I'm thinking about it, and there is some. Of course, I have some bad action in my life, and I don't like to tell them.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it's kind of not not good for my personality. So, and I'm thinking about this method because on the Vipassana, we don't dig in into unconsciousness. We just watching what is come up to by itself. So, what do you think about these two methods? Dig in of such bad actions and just waiting when they come up.
I mean, if you really do that, if you have a good look at yourself and just deal with what comes up without being aware of it, without having the idea that you are digging, you go deeper and deeper and deeper in the subconscious. The subconscious is opening up and more becomes conscious. Now, if somebody feels attracted to these kind of methods you are describing, nothing wrong with it. Of course, it's a responsibility then for the other side. If you tell everything to another person, they should be centered enough that they can deal with it in a helpful way. Because, I mean, if the person who is listening to what you are telling is, if they themselves are full of contradictions and tensions and have to work on them, then whatever their response is to what you are telling will be also influenced from their own struggles they are going through. So I cannot say one way is the better than the other way. If one feels confident of going that way and doing that, telling, it's one way of becoming more self-conscious. If you have to tell it to somebody else, then you have also a more clear look at yourself than most of the people usually have. If one feels this is helpful, then yes, fine. But if you have reservations and think that's not really what I want to do, then I'm not going to tell you do it all the same.
Yeah, okay. I will think about.
Yeah.
And also, I want to ask you about, for example, I have some bad actions in my life, and during the Vipassana courses, it comes up to my mind, and I, for some times, was observing it, these emotions, this what's happening, and then it's not so charged anymore.
Yeah.
So can I say that this karma is over, or still this karma will come to myself? So the question about karma, how does it work? For example, bad actions, I regret.
You said
And,
protection, or what did you say? Protection.
No. If I regret about this action, so and I was observing it by Vipassana sometimes, and I don't feel it's charging anymore. If I reminding it, it's just past, nothing special. Is it finish this karma, or it's just it may come to me again?
Right. Definitely, that's the way how you are removing charges, and then karma can let go without it necessarily needing to manifest itself. But there may be deeper connections connected with that situation that are still there, unresolved, and they need maybe to manifest. But what you are describing is certainly the way to remove karma. The more you become aware, the more you let stuff come up and deal with the emotions and learn to relax and let them go, the less powerful is the karma that needs to manifest. If somebody is very unconscious, then they have their destiny hanging over them as like a cloud of probabilities that most probably things are going to happen like this. The karma is just going to unroll itself. But once you start to stop, once you start to really look at yourself here now, that it's like in the timelessness of the now, you are stepping out of karma and you are touching the source of creativity, and something flows into the current of time and space, of cause and effect, because karma is nothing else but cause and effect. And that is not predictable, and that can remove a lot of tensions that after that the karma needs not manifest on this material level. So what you are saying is the right way to go about it. You have a good look at it and deal with the emotions. And sometimes if it feels right, we may connect with persons. When our emotions are connected with persons, we may connect with that person and say, okay, I remember that situation, maybe that was not very nice what I did there. Or that's how I reacted, and apologize. But most of the time this won't even be necessary, because if we let go of the charge, it's like it's out of the world.
Okay. And also, I want to ask you about sometimes the karma not happening quickly, but sometimes I feel I did some actions and I get very quickly karma. What it depends on from how it's dependent the speed of karma?
I don't quite get the question. You mean when you did something that you think that will very quickly get the reaction, what to do with it? Or?
Yes, I get a result of my karma, kind of, what to say, for example, I did something badly, and then something happened with me.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe it's, but karma very quickly comes. But sometimes it may be not so quickly. So from what it depends, this speed?
That may have all kind, any amount of factors that influence. You cannot say it's because of this or because of that. Sometimes it's an immediate response, and sometimes it may take its own time. But anyhow, how you cannot plan how to act in order that the karma is manifesting immediately. You just learn to be and act in harmony, and then you don't produce karma. And the karma that is produced, that needs to be manifest, you just face it when it comes, without wondering how long will it take. Maybe by in between you get so detached that even if it comes, it doesn't matter anymore.
Okay, thank you, Werner. Hariom.
Hariom, you are also in a nice, beautiful place out in nature, huh?
Yeah, we are in the forest, Yeah, I have bad camera, but maybe you can see a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
Yeah, the spring finally came even to Russia. Yes, very beautiful right now.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
good time. There's very warm, but not yet mosquitoes. Soon mosquitoes will come. It will be not so good. But now, no mosquitoes.
Yeah, they're also coming to Russia.
Yes, yes, they will come. A lot.
I see. Okay. Hari Om, Hari Om.
Ariel.
Is there anybody else who would like to talk? You're welcome to come in. Okay, let me say one little bit more to the subject of karma. What is karma? Everybody talks about karma. Karmic difficulties, karmic opportunities. When we come in this world, then the karma is there and it has to manifest. All is predestined. When a being comes into this world, there is that destiny there. It's like what I said to Dial, it's like a cloud of probabilities. Things that are bound to happen, most probably going to happen. And the more somebody goes asleep, half asleep through the life, not watching the energies, not watching their conscious reactions to situations, the more these probabilities will still simply manifest. It's like that destiny is just going to unroll itself very predictably. But this is not a rule that is fixed. What I said before to Dial is very important. If you bring the attention to the now, here, now, you are stepping out of causality. You are stepping out of karma. Here, now, there is no karma. But you are touching the source of life, the source of creativity. And if you are consciously in touch with that source, something very beautiful and unpredictable flows into that relative story of cause and effect, of karma and probabilities. Something that has not been, could not be seen because it's not coming from the cause and effect level. It's not already subtly there, predicted, fixed. But from here now, you just are in touch with the source. And from that source, anything can come. So karma is the law within time and space. The more you learn to live in that timeless, spaceless now, the less power karma has. Still, some things may manifest, but then if you are in touch with yourself, you also react in such a way that you're not continuing the chain, that you're not again reacting in a way that the same karma is reproduced and is waiting to come back to you, and it goes on and on and on. You hit, you get hit, you do something good, you get a little good. the more you live being aware of that ground I have been talking in the beginning, that remains ever pure, the less meaning destiny has, the less meaning karma has, the less powerful the law of cause and effect is. And your life becomes more and more just a playful, joyous expression of yourself. Still strong karmic things may manifest, but then it's also a totally different situation to deal with them if you are not emotionally just getting overwhelmed and swept away by it, but you're still in touch with yourself. When things come, you deal with them and they go. And you are not sowing again the seed that other things have to happen. It's not that we somehow have to work up all the karma. In the traditional Hindu way, we have 3 types of karma. There is that huge, big store of karma that is there. And out of that huge, big store, some portion have been picked out for this lifetime to manifest. And then there is the karma that we keep producing all the time with our action, that can again need to manifest in this lifetime, or then if not, it goes back to the huge big store of karma that is there. But it's not that there is that huge big store and somehow we have to go through life after life after life after life to somehow hope eventually we neutralize that whole thing, that whole store of karma. We can now connect with the timeless present, with yourself, with that pure consciousness. We can connect with the pure love. We can connect with the pure energy. And here now, karma has no power. Neither the karma that has been chosen for this lifetime, nor the big store of karma, nor are we producing again new karma that has to after that manifest. Here, now, you are free. You are prior to the law of causality, of cause and effect. You don't have to worry about karma. But it's good to learn to accept what comes, not to resist whatever comes along on our way, that we are not standing there and no, I don't want it, and think, oh, terrible, terrible karma that I'm having. Okay, let the things come, whether they are pleasant or unpleasant, you deal with it and you let it go. And then they are not a problem. They sometimes are difficult, sometimes very difficult, but if we don't make them into a problem, they are not a problem. They come, we deal with them, they go. Here, now, you are free of karma. It's not that there is an endless story of life, death, reincarnation, life after life after life in front of us to work up all that possible karma that may have been created. No. We can come back to that source, which is prior to karma, prior to cause and effect. And the more you live in conscious touch with that, the more the karma that may be hanging there is simply neutralized without needing to manifest. Jesus was annoying the religious authorities very much when he used to tell to people, your sins are forgiven. Basically, what he said was nothing else but that same thing. That it's not that we have that big store of sins and somehow or other we have to go to purgatory or God knows what and work them up. We can step out of it. So he had that broad-heartedness and that graciousness that he was inspiring and encouraging people and telling them your sins are forgiven. But the authorities didn't like them. They liked the idea of punishment. And so it's with the karma. That the idea of punishment for whatever we have done before, it's looming there and it has to come. We have to suffer for it. And sometimes it may manifest in unpleasant situations, but if you connect with that divinity, here now, there's no karma, there are no sins. You're pure, you're connecting with that purity, pure consciousness, pure love, pure energy. All right. I'm again asking, is there anybody who would like to come in? You're welcome to come. "27 people? Nobody wants to talk?" There we are again. Sometimes it happens. Nobody wants to talk. You just want me to talk and talk and talk.
It's me again.
Hello, Ben again.
Since nobody else is coming, I'll take this chance.
You have all the right to come in again.
Something is popping up and has to do with relationships. About becoming intimate with someone. I've done that recently, and with lots of communication on where we were both at in our willingness and openness to be intimate, and we were clear at the beginning that we didn't want to become too serious of an official couple, and that was a couple months ago, and now it's coming. I met someone else, and so there's a little bit of a play of how to follow what I'm feeling now and open myself up to this new person, and knowing that it might create some kind of suffering with the other person, even though we had this agreement that we were not committing to, being a closed couple. So yeah, this is just part of my personal story life right now. So anything around that, about is it possible to get involved and intimate with someone and generate some more feelings of love or this kind of emotions? Will that always kind of have the equal amount of suffering in the if you know what I mean?
Yes,
it's like there's a high, there's a low. and how to minimize that. I don't know, maybe it ties to the theme of karma. You know, I don't want to also just create negative ripples out of that. Is the ultimate solution to just become celibate and just not, you know, do that? Sometimes it crosses my mind, even though I don't feel that's what I want to do. I enjoy to connect and share intimacy. So, but yeah, these are some of the questions.
Yeah, yeah. And frankly, I cannot give you an ultimate solution. The human relationship is too complicated and complex. Basically, be true to yourself and don't do things of which you feel they are not right. Now, but as you said, you met somebody, you talked about, you agreed about things, but then, of course, these are sort of calculations in the mind, and then the emotions, they do something else. Then usually, even if it's being talked out and agreed to, emotionally, it doesn't go equally smooth.
Right.
I'm not saying anything from any moral standpoint. I mean, everybody has to do what they feel right. And of course, if you really love somebody, then you don't want to hurt them. At the same time, if two people come together, the way you described it, and basically clear, okay, for the time being, we accompany each other, our ways may part, and we are not officially committing, but then when the moment comes that one wants to part, the other may not be at that moment willing to part, and there will be some emotional pain. But what is important, that you have an honest look at yourself and you feel you're doing that which you feel is right. And if somebody gets hurt, then you can minimize it as good as you can. But basically, when you already agreed on a course of action, and after that the emotional attachment still comes more than planned, then it will also, sooner or later, it will hurt. For attachment is always, it's never going to be fulfilled all the time. Attachment is there and is asking for trouble, because sometimes the attachment, what we are attached to, is being fulfilled and sometimes not. Don't get angry at another person if they don't see it your way at that moment, but try to be really as loving as you can. And do that which you feel is right. Not just for a momentary satisfaction, but that you really feel as good as you can. Do that which you feel is right in your heart. And then you're basically guided. But I mean, human relationship, it's always more stuff. We are always getting more than we bargained for. There's always more stuff connected to it that is being anticipated. And so it's always going to be pleasant and unpleasant. It's always going to be very high and then painful again. But we can reduce it for ourselves by being true to ourselves. And For the other person, automatically it will also be reduced if we are honest with ourselves. And then we are honest with them. And if still sometimes the emotional pain comes, it won't be that strong. Whether you want to be celibate or not is also a question you have to decide. And if you think, no, it's not my thing to be celibate and I want to take the plunge, then you can be aware, okay, but I'm also getting things, energies in motion that after that I will have to confront again that may not only be pleasant.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And is this the that in most tradition there is often a community of renunciates
Yes.
that follow deeply the spiritual practices?
Yes.
Has to do with the fact of the added complexity of getting into a human relationship and how that makes it more challenging to be in touch with our stillness.
I mean, the sexual energy is the strongest energy in the human body. It involves all the senses, not just one or two senses, but all the senses are so involved, and it's driving people the most crazy, and it makes people the most happy, and it's doing terrible things to people. And if somebody decides, okay, I just want to put all my attention, all my energy simply on the spiritual path, then they may decide, I just keep away from it, not to get distracted. But because that energy is so strong, it's only recommendable if those people who do so somehow find a way to deal then with that energy that is not being used up in sexuality. Because if it's not being redirected and transformed, then it has the tendency to create more problems than less problems.
Right.
Right. So people in a community may get the necessary support from a teacher and help how to deal with that energy, and then can use it constructively, and it may help them in their spiritual unfolding process. But people who try to just sort of turn off that, but don't really know how to deal with it, then often these people, they are within not too long time in more troubles and not in less troubles, and getting more distracted from their spiritual path than less distracted. And it would have been better for them, they would have had a moderate sexual life, and then they are capable of thinking of something else, then to suppress it, and after that the thing is all the time in their head and driving them crazy.
Right.
So one has to decide for oneself whether one wants to be celibate or not. It's certainly not a bad advice not to be so overindulgent, because we do spend quite some energy in that. And living a sexual relationship, that you try also there in the sexuality to be observative and see what is happening energetically. And then it can be a help to go deeper in even. But if we just get completely lost in it, then that much energy has been puffed out in space, into space.
Right. And when you say that it might help to go deeper, does this have to do with somehow the balancing of energy, of masculine energy, feminine energy, somehow
Yes.
finding balance in oneself through the support of someone else?
Sorry, I will answer the question. but somehow the current doesn't come and the computer says my battery is about to run out. I have to look where the connection is not okay. I'll come back
Okay.
in a moment.
Okay. Let's meditate.
We are fine. It was we are fine. It was just nearby. The connection was getting a bit loose.
All right.
Right. It's fine. Okay. Can you repeat just the last part of your question?
Yeah. You said that having a sexual life and relationship can be helpful sometimes if we have a close, and honest awareness with it. And I was just asking if that has to do with a partner helping us to balance our energy, like the masculine and the feminine, somehow just creating this balancing energy, or in which way or what to not to look for, but to have as an intention in a relationship.
That balancing of the feminine and the masculine aspect is in a way something we have to do in ourselves. It's not that being with somebody else is doing the job, but being as a man confronted with a woman can inspire us to do so. But you cannot expect that a partner is doing that job for us. Everybody is beyond sexuality. Everybody has female and male aspects. And somehow, in order to find peace, it has to be balanced out. Now, what I mean, how it can be helpful is if we are aware in the act of the energies, then we are aware that also the heart is really opening there. And if we keep that awareness, then that opening of the heart can help us to make a next step. If we are not aware and completely identifying just with the physical sensations, then that energy that has been created in the situation, that intensity is sort of just building up, and then buffed out in space, and then that much energy is gone without being quite creative. Momentarily, it excites, and then it's gone. But I mean, it's not only the sexuality. Along with the sexuality, as the emotion are kindled, as it is energetically very strong and connecting to all the senses, then people are invariably more emotional when they get intimate. And so the whole story comes along. And if we are with a partner and there is mutual emotional stuff comes up, sometimes very positive and sometimes not positive. If we learn to accept it, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, and see it's an opportunity to learn, to grow, to overcome reactions, then a partnership may be extremely helpful and inspiring. That again and again you have the mirror in front of you and see, oh, I'm reacting. It's not necessary. I can learn to just relax and let it pass by. So if we are not doing that, then we can be, then the same thing happens that happens so many times. People are all happy, very, very short-lived, and then the other stuff starts to come up, and then instead of giving and giving and giving in the beginning, they try to take and bickering and yang, and then so much energy and time is wasted just for the usual human nonsense instead of being aware.
Right.
So
yeah, totally.
if we, whatever we are doing, if we do it consciously, if we use it, the situation, consciously to become more self-aware, anything that we are doing or not doing can help us. And if that awareness is not there, then whatever is happening is not having that much of an effect.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I definitely feel that what is happening out of this, and trying to be as aware as possible and as self-aware, I'm meaning trying to have an honest look at myself and what's going on, is feeling what you often say, that I'm getting richer through the experience. I'm having some conscious experiences with other humans, and whether it's sometimes pleasant or not, it does feel like it's done with lots of communication, and the background is wanting to understand and to honor each other. And so
to
this is very different.
to increase the empathy, that you don't know only your feelings, but that you also see the situation of the other people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, and it's not always easy. There's a tendency to just care more about ourselves, but I do feel that compared to 5-10 years ago or more, it's really, I'm approaching this from a very different space, which I feel the practice, even the satsangs, all of this is helping a lot for that.
We have to be honest with ourselves, and then we find our way.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om. You're courageous to come up in the public like this with your story. For it's a story so many people are struggling with. Thank you for coming in. Hari Om, Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in? You're welcome to come. We have some more time, if you like. Hello, Lutz.
Hello, Werner. Now you have talked a lot about relating to very much alive people and to interact in the kind of the peak of being alive. So I want to bring in interaction with dying people, or my experience with my brother now in particular, but maybe also in general. It happens quite often. And you mentioned that in intimate relationships there's some intensity and the heart's opening, and that's certainly something very beautiful and very attractive, and I think many people are yeah, longing for that. It's just beautiful when the heart is opening and one feels very soft and very vulnerable and feels very strongly. So in my case, I was with my brother before he died, and I noticed a change that in the time before he died, several times he was a very different person. Means that normally he was often negative and dark and not easygoing and resistant towards things people said to him. Whereas in his last weeks and days, there came in some kind of light, some kind of influence which softened him up and which kind of made him very gentle and in a way happy and easygoing. It was as if he was as if he has visited already some place where all his worries were kind of gone, and somehow this contact with this inner space, it reflected down in his normal life and also in interacting with me. And there was finally also some love happening between me and him, a kind of a brotherly love, which was not present during the whole life. And it was so strong, and it still is. It still kind of is kind of working on me, that it's working on my heart. It's and I feel that I'm holding back in the normal life and the normal day-to-day being very much my heart, and there's some pains in it, and I'm also holding back a lot. Whereas somehow in the interaction with him, it was just almost violently opened, because it was so strong what came from him, that I couldn't hold back.
Yeah.
And also all conditioning from the years and years and years before, which I had not such a good relation with him, it was meaningless at this moment. It was just kind of exploded. It just dropped off, and I just opened my heart, and he as well, and there we were, and it was just a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
And I noticed also that he saw me in a wise way. He gave me some kind of like little instructions, or some kind of little, he said some little things which he usually he did not say, and I felt as if he's seeing me very clearly, as if somehow his consciousness had gained a clarity which wasn't there before. And I was also very surprised to hear my brother really talking very wise and very clear. So also this kind of light influence, it has really had a strong effect from him,
Yeah.
on him.
Yeah.
So now now comes my question. It seems that this kind of more spiritual attunement to the light, this more of love, this more of wisdom, it seems to be very near. I mean, my brother was for a long time not expressing that, not living that, but a little kind of a switch happened, and without him meditating a long time or doing all sorts of things or being with other people, it just came about. But the what it made it come about was his approaching death. I mean,
Right.
he's
Yeah.
kind of breaking of himself, maybe breaking of his personality, breaking of his existence, that easily kind of wiped out all the kind of dark stuff. So, but actually, it was very. What fascinates me that it was very easy. It was kind of yeah happening without much of his effort. It was more, I think, a letting go from his side, an
Right.
ultimate letting go.
Right.
So the, the, the special thing about it, what I want to ask is, so it seems actually wisdom and love and light is very near, but yet somehow we are not able to, and we hold on to our stuff, which seems to block all this until the very last, more or less.
Right.
So even but even now, even right now, even if I wish for it to become like my brother, it won't work.
Right. But you are right. All these values you have been talking about, they are here. They are close. They are not somewhere at the end of a long, long, long journey. Maybe we may reach them. You, as a being, your brother as a being, everybody is not really incarnated in this world. And that wisdom and that love and that divine beauty is always there. It's we are projecting an aspect into this magic show, and then there forms the personality that we then identify and think we are, and that personality doesn't remember, hey, the I am feeling is just a reflection. It's coming from my being, which is not really incarnated. And as soon as we start to let that identification go, that we have learned to hold on more and more and more and more while we grow up in this world, as soon as we let that really go, then we start to have access to something which was so way beyond of what we have been used to, as long as we are totally identified with that me personality. And somebody who is getting closer to death and feels that may consciously let go, or it just may start to happen that this letting go is there because okay, it's getting towards the end. If somebody is not then totally getting into a panic more and more and holding like that on, but it can happen that more and more of that real being that has never been incarnated shows through. And we need not wait until the end of this physical life to let go. But the thing is, as long as that identification is there, even if we have that thought, then that behind thought is so likely that, yes, I let go, I'm not this person, I let go, but then actually I want to use it as a trick that I personally get something out of it. It's why does it happen to people like your brother when they are getting close to the physical death? Because then that letting go will be there in short time anyhow, whether they like it or not. And in a way, we have to, that letting go is like we have to be ready to spiritually die. That the identification, me, this personality, we have to let go. And that is the tricky part, because the personality always finds tricks to re-establish itself, no matter no matter what effort we are making, no matter what opening is there, then somehow the tricky me personality comes in again, and I want to use it as a personal gain to make my me personality more glorious and stronger. And somehow that we have to learn to open up to the fact, no, I have to give up that me Lutz person, that me Werner person, that me is just a role that I'm playing. I'm not that. And this is the tricky part. That idea of letting that go is scary, because then but then what if I let go? Then nothing remains, which of course is wrong. All remains. the whole divine beauty remains. We don't have to wait till the end of the life, but in a way it's that we have to willingly, consciously, spiritually be ready to die.
Yeah, there's a famous Sufi saying, "Die before you die." I think this is addressing exactly
Yes.
this. And in my own experience, I had some experience where I died, and surprisingly, this was pleasant when I died. I was very afraid of it, but when it actually happened, or briefly while it happened or after it happened, I realized, oh, that's a kind of liberation. That's a kind of that's something nice of letting go. But still, I could not recreate it. It was some kind of temporary thing which happened, and immediately somehow everything kind of came together again the normal way, and just a memory remained. And I know, yeah, maybe actually to let go of everything is something beautiful, although it seems scary at first.
Yes. That's why I keep on hammering about that one thing. Relax, 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 relax. It's not simply that we feel momentarily good, but if we feel attachment, if we feel strong energies resisting to that letting go, that relaxing is easing. Relaxing not simply physically, but start on the physical level when we are in tensions, energetic, emotional tensions about something. The more we can relax, then the energetically it also is relaxing, and the detachment starts to happen. This is how it functions most easily for me. That's why I'm coming back to that all the time. I mean, you can also pray to God. I see my tensions, please take them away. If we honestly pray like this, it may also happen. You can also analyze it, and who is feeling this tension, who's tension, and in that way detach from it. But somehow letting go in itself is like, it's relaxing. So no matter how we are going about, that we learn to not be afraid to relax is already really a step to not more be afraid to let go. But you're right, what you said in the beginning, this wisdom, this profoundness that goes so way beyond what we usually experience is not far away. It's here, it's now, it's calling, that we are diving into it, accessing it. And somehow, miraculously, instead of fully embracing it, there is that fear. Yes, but what what happens if I do that? Afraid that I'm losing something, afraid that I'm dying, afraid of loss of the familiar. And so the resistance is very big. We can see that resistance and work on it by consciously relaxing, letting go, opening the heart to that real self, that which is prior to the personality. That somebody comes closer to who is nearing the physical death. Some people, they are so identified, they just panic and totally remain in that identification till the very end, through panic, through something or other holding on to. But many people start to already feel something flowing through and start to relax, and then that's not an unusual thing that happens, that you suddenly experience that your brother is changing, that his whole life he had a certain way of functioning, and now suddenly there is a beauty and a profoundness there that was not manifesting before, because this was there all the time, but it was blocked off. And getting towards death, many people are capable of already a bit relaxing and not thinking all these things that they have been holding on to are so important, but you start to relax. Then it's coming through. Okay, shall we leave it at that for today?
Yes, but I want to also make some timely remark. Because of the situation in the world now, there are many people who are dying very quickly and without kind of gradually approaching
Yes.
death and everything, but they were just shot, or they just go up in flames or something like that. And
Yes.
I feel very much pain about that. I feel very sorry for them. I feel it's a horrible thing that on a big scale this is happening now, and I feel there's a big like a huge factory of negativity is happening there.
Right. The negativity is very strong since years, extremely. Now this is just a manifestation of that. Of course, when you hear those horrors, then naturally you feel. But those who are gone, they are gone. They are free. They are having that freedom you have experienced when you experienced that, and found out, hey, that is not it's not a terrible thing. Being alive is much more complicated. But the whole painful story about it, of course, it's a painful story. Again, I'm saying the same thing with which I have started this satsang. No matter what is happening, the best thing we can do, not only for ourselves, but for the whole humanity and for the whole creation, is not because of what is happening being pulled into depression and negativity, but hold on as good as you can to that timelessness, to that purity, to that ground, that first expression of beingness, pure consciousness, pure love, pure energy. And if you do that, then in spite of what is happening, your life will not become miserable. And in contrary, you will become like a lighthouse who helps others also to get less sucked into misery because of it. I think that's a good way to stop for today.
Yeah, we came full circle, sort of.
Yes. Shall we leave it at that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Hari Om, Hari Om. And I'm saying goodbye because I'm turning off the recording for today. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.